Today I've been sent a recent article that tells the story of a 7-year-old Judo student who was slammed to the ground 27 times during training and died months later because of it. I will share more details of what happened specifically in this incident and some of my thoughts as to why I think a part of martial arts culture allowed that to happen. The incident happened in Taiwan at a judo dojo led by a 60-year-old instructor. As the article states, the boy had practiced judo for only 2 weeks and had no proper skills of safe falling, a skill necessary to receive heavy impact judo throws. Nevertheless, the instructor ordered some of the other students to repeatedly throw the boy to the mat. This is where my first thought that I want to share comes up. While there are no details provided as to why the instructor chose to do this, there's one possible reason I see that is very likely. That is the culture of toughen up. A culture which is unfortunately not all renounced by the martial arts community. This culture that I am describing is one where some martial arts instructors consider that being a martial artist means to be tough, and that the best way to do this is to lead their students through a form of physical punishment. I'm not saying that all dojos do that, nor that every judo school practices it. Personally, I've even experienced a form of such physical punishment in one of the Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools I've attended, where after some students received blue belts and purple belts, all the senior students stood in 2 lines, making a tunnel, for the newly awarded members to crawl through on their backs half naked, as the senior students slapped them with their belts as hard as they could. The students that were crawling had to cover their eyes to make sure the incoming belts wouldn't injure them, since that's how strong the blows were. After the ceremony ended, the awarded students were covered with bruises all over their bodies, as I was looking at them and thinking, is this really necessary? What does this really achieve? Martial arts are already challenging to practice, especially such combat sports-oriented martial arts as Judo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where you're constantly testing your skills against other practitioners, losing and failing thousands of times. People become mentally and physically stronger practicing these martial arts on their own, even without the element of deliberate physical punishment, which makes me question yet again, why is it a part of the culture? Unfortunately, in some dojos, it still is, and I believe this culture of physical punishment and intending to toughen up was what was happening in our initial story. As we come back to it, after the boy was slammed to the ground about a dozen times, he refused to continue to do so and called the instructor a big fool. The instructor then began throwing the boy to the ground himself. Even as the boy told that his head hurts, he was still thrown more than 10 times. At one point, the boy even began vomiting. The instructor temporarily stopped, only to clean up the vomit. After that, he continued the throwing process again. This is where my second thought that I wanted to share comes in. Taking a look at another still existing part of the martial arts culture that I'm all too familiar with myself. It's the culture of ego and elitism. While these two aspects are not exclusive to martial arts, many martial arts systems bolster the ego of senior students and instructors by fostering a hierarchical structure. Many martial arts are based on a system of hierarchy where the instructor has to be given the highest level of respect and authority. Being in this superior and decorated position may lead any individual to live into a superior identity which they may feel a need to protect and constantly prove. As for the story, my strong guess is that once the boy called the instructor a big fool and refused to continue, the instructor likely felt a need to teach the boy a lesson. As in many traditional martial arts schools, you're not allowed to refuse to do what the instructor has ordered you to do, even more so while quote-unquote disrespecting him. Again, I'm not saying that this type of scenario is exclusive to martial arts. I'm also unfamiliar with Taiwanese culture, which may or may not have been a part that played into all of this happening. It may also be important to note that the article points out that the judo instructor was not a licensed instructor. Still, reading this story, I cannot pretend that I don't see how the aspect of toughening up, hierarchy, elitism, and dedicated superiority still existing in plenty of martial arts schools play into such incidents happening. With this video, my intention is not to offer a solution, nor to create an image that all martial arts schools breed these negative and toxic qualities. But my intention is to continue to bring as much awareness as possible as to how these usually unquestionable aspects of martial arts, where the instructors are unquestionable in the methods they apply and what power they both give themselves and are given to by others, may lead to development of toxic and dangerous environments. My hope is that the more awareness we have as to how and why these situations unfold, and how the hierarchical structure and macho culture that some martial arts schools encourage may affect us, the better we will be at spotting and questioning it, choosing to not be a part of it, or not allowing our loved ones to do so, be it our brothers, sisters, children, or anyone else. My wish here is to encourage critical thinking in your martial arts practice. Do not take things for granted. Do not do something just because your instructor told you so. Do not choose to get involved in a place where you're told that you or someone you care for needs to be toughened up by physical punishment. Be wary and careful as you choose your martial arts schools and instructors.